Hi, this is Shinhuey. Welcome to my little humble studio. I got a lot of questions. People ask me, how do I get into oil painting? What material should I use? Where to get those supplies? So I thought I would share with you some of the things I use on a daily basis. And later on, if there are interest, I might also demo how do I do a painting. So I hope you enjoy it, and let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to comment, to email me. I'll do my best to answer those questions. Okay, let's start with the oil paint that I use. So these are the paints I use on a daily basis. Before we started, there's so many brands and different types of oil paints on the market. So how to choose? I've noticed in the art shops in Trinidad, the most common one you'll see is our student grades oil paint. Some of them look like this. This is a Windsor Winton oil color. This is what we call a student grade oil paint. Nothing wrong with it. It's just that it is a cheaper version. It used different pigments. It used cheaper pigments in it, as well as it used less pigments, more fillers. So that's how you could get it at a lower price. Now I don't use them anymore because they don't give us bright color, and also I mix my own colors with 2 or more colors you see here. So I find with the student grade paint, I don't get as a good result. Usually if I mix 2 colors, I get muddy, dirty colors, and it's not the colors that I wanted. So right now I don't use those anymore. I prefer to use those artist grades oil paint. They're more expensive, and they probably are not available in the art shops in Trinidad. I order mine online and have them shipped to my house. There are different brands. They are Winsor Newton, Rembrandt, and many other brands to choose from. So depending on the consistency of the paint and the colors that you like, you could choose the brand that suits you the best. But for me, I like the Winsor Newton. Price-wise, they're pretty reasonable, and they also give you good quality paint. So I also like Rembrandt. This is a good brand as well. Just make sure you choose the artist grade color if you want a bright color. If you want to mix your color together, get the artist grade color. This is the white, the titanium white is the whitest white you could get in oil paint, and this is Lefranc brand. If you're just starting out, I would recommend Winsor Newton. It's pretty easy to work with, and you don't have to worry about spending too much on the paint. I mean, they are more expensive than the student grade for sure, but they're not the most expensive artist grade paints, and so and the quality is pretty good. Now I have those are the colors that I will use on a daily basis. Now if you have looked at the color wheel, you would know that you really just need the 3 primary colors plus the white to start painting, right? So you could get a yellow, and you could get a red, and you could get blue. If you just starting out and you want to try it, you could buy these 4 tubes, and you can mix most of the colors that you would like. Yellow and blue makes the green, and you could use yellow and red to make the orange. Okay, and then red and the blue to make the purple. So so I actually think it's a good idea if you just use the 3 primary color and mix the color you want. That way you learn about the color theory as well. And after so many years, I still might mix my own color, but I find having all those other colors also help to save some time from mixing. So I have a core yellow, which is cadmium lemon. And I have a warmer one, it's cadmium yellow. I also have cadmium orange, cadmium scarlet, or you could use cadmium red. Alizarin crimson is a cooler red. Burnt sienna is a brown color. Viridian is the green that I use. I have 2 blues. One is manganese blue hue, or you could use cerulean. And this is ultramarine blue, is my favorite blue. When I go out to paint, these are the colors I would bring. And of course, when I go out, I'll use a smaller tube. And the big tube, I use it at home when I'm painting in my home studio. It's just because it's so heavy and it's, it takes up a lot of space. So it's actually more convenient to bring the smaller tube. But price-wise, it actually works out cheaper if you buy the bigger tube. When I paint flowers, or even portrait, I will use some other more colors than this. So for example, this is the permanent rose. It's great for painting flowers. Rose is a nice bright cool red to use. Got to use it on flowers, on portrait. And this is a brilliant pink by Michael Hardings. It's also great for flowers as well as this the color of a house. Any colors that you could not mix with those colors that I would buy and use. Okay, so that's the color. And for oil painting, it's important that we also have a solvent. This is solvent is used to thin paint, to clean your brushes and for cleanup. The ones I recommend is Gansol by Gamlin. This is odorless mineral spirits. There are so many different types of solvents. There are turpentine, etc. And there's so many brands to choose from. But I find this, because I'm pretty sensitive to smells and chemicals, so I did my research, and this is the one that is actually safer to use because it evaporates slower, so you don't inhale as much fume when you paint. Another thing with oil painting is that you want to make sure that you open the windows. Good ventilation is very important for your health. Not only the solvent, even the oil paint itself has some has solvents in it too, have media in it too. So you want to make sure that you always have a supply of fresh air in your studio. If you cannot leave the windows open, like me, it's if I have the AC on and I have the windows closed, then I will use my air purifier that could eliminate most of the chemicals in the air, the VOCs. So you want to pick an air purifier that could get rid of the VOCs. Okay, not just the dust, but also the chemicals in the air. Right, so that is a solvent for cleaning brushes and thinning paint. Now, if you want your paint to be more fluid, easier to work with, because sometimes the paint coming out of a tube is a bit stiff, a bit thick. It's harder to spread out on a canvas. So in those times I will use mediums. This is a walnut oil made by Anne Graham. There are other oils as well, I believe. A lot of brands, they have linseed oil, safflower oil. So those work just as well, I believe. but I just have a big bottle of walnut oil, so this is what I use. And you could use other medium as well, gel. This is a solvent-free gel. It does the same thing. It actually put a little bit in the paint. It makes it more fluid, more spreadable. So it makes the paint easier to work with. But just be careful that you don't use too much. If you use too much of the gel or the oil, then your paint might get too like soupy or runny, and we don't want that, because you don't want the paint to slide down on your canvas. And you want to be able to put down layers of paint, so just be careful, don't use too much of the medium. Right. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is the container I use to put the solvent inside. It has an airtight lid, so this is great for even going out to paint. When I go out, I could just stick it in my backpack. It will not spill, it will not leak. So this is how it looks inside. It does not have any solvent because I just cleaned it. What I do is I pour enough in this container, and I use it every day until it gets a bit, the water gets a bit, the solvent gets a bit dirty, and you'll find that there are sediments like in the bottom. So what you do is you leave it for a day or two, and you pour out the clear liquid at the top in another container, and you wipe out the muddy looking sediment in the bottom. And you want to make sure don't put those unwanted waste in the drain. What you want to do is wipe it with old rag or paper towel and throw them in the garbage. Okay, because we don't want to pollute the water source. So okay, after you clean out and you pour back the clear solvent back inside, and you can continue using it. So actually a jar of the solvent could last me months, right? It's because you could just keep reusing it until one day it's so dirty that you cannot it cannot clean your brushes anymore. Then you would pour that out again in the garbage bin, and you could put a lot of newspaper inside, so it's not runny. But don't throw them in the drain, right? So yeah, so the solvent actually lasts me for a long time. Okay, so the last thing I have here is the varnish. Once the painting is dry, I would put on a layer of varnish to protect it. This is the one I use, Gamvar by Gamlin. The advantage of using a varnish is that it protects your painting from dust as well as from the sunlight. It actually blocks out the UV ray, so your painting will last longer and look nicer. It also gives you a painting a unified appearance. So for example, you could see, I'm not sure you can see it, there are some shiny parts, some matte duller parts on the painting. So once you put on a varnish, it will look more unified. It has the same appearance. So you could choose whether you want shinier varnish or matte varnish. There are different ones that you could pick from. Depending on your preferences, you put it on, so you have the unified appearance. Now, one thing to pay attention to is to make sure that your painting is completely dry before you put on the varnish. For our climate, it's probably a month at least, or you could, just touch the surface of your painting and make sure they are completely dry before you put on the varnish.